Are the valuations out of whack?
Well, thank you for having me, Caroline. It's great to see you. Yes, there is definitely a tale of two cities. If you are an AI company right now, you can raise in the 100x ARR multiple, but if you're not an AI company, it's still trending around 10x. So there is a huge discrepancy between the valuations for AI and everybody else.
Where are you seeing the value, therefore, in AI investments? Where would you want to be allocating checks when they are at a heady price point?
Yeah, so for us, it really comes back down to the basics. Is this company building something that has true ROI for their customers? And we're really seeing that a lot in the application layer, sometimes focused on very specific verticals. For example, we invested in this company called Vizcom. They build software for industrial designers. So think anybody that has to design a shoe, a car, a piece of furniture. They use AI to help these industrial designers accelerate their process. And they had some inbound interest very early on from huge companies like Ford and New Balance. And so those are really the areas that we find attractive to invest. Clear customer, clear ROI, and of course, over time, we'll see more and more of these, hopefully.
You're leading the team here in San Francisco, and I'm sure there's many an entrepreneur who views us who's interested in how, therefore, Vizcom gets your interest. How did they get your inbound? Do they come to you? Do you come to them? How are you finding out these jewels in the rough?
Yeah, well, for us, it's all about investing in people. And so we try to build relationships with folks very early. Sometimes this is while they're still at their current job, or it could be through a network that we have of our own entrepreneurs. And so we really meet people in all different avenues, whether it's events, referrals from our own entrepreneurs, or even just outbound. And so we're always open to meet great entrepreneurs.
Where are some of the other use cases of AI really piquing your appetite? There, it would seem to be more the visual perspective in the way in which ultimately we can spark creativity. Look at the backlash to Apple's ad. Like, there's a worry about creativity being stifled rather than augmented. But where else is artificial intelligence and generative AI reaping rewards for some of the companies that you look at?
Yeah, so I think the code generation space has been an area that a lot of people have talked about, and there's many companies that have popped up in the space, but that seems one that's an obvious use case, and we've already seen a lot of customers, even Fortune 500s, really putting down commitment to try out these new code gen softwares, companies like Augment, for example, and others. And so we're really excited about that use case. And then if you think about anybody that's using pen and paper and has a lot of unstructured data, that really is ripe for the use of AI, because now suddenly you can make sense of all of that data and really integrate into your workflow something that will accelerate what you're trying to do.
That sparks my imagination back to our conversation with May Habib yesterday of Writer AI. And she was saying, like, ultimately, she's getting a lot of calls from other companies right now who are running out of money and they will need to be bought. Is this something you're seeing of a generation of AI entrepreneurs that are got their companies off the ground, but they can't sustain it from a cost perspective?
Absolutely. I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation in the space, because everybody talks about how it's a war for talent, specifically within AI. And it's just not sustainable that all of these companies can exist at very high valuations when they're still very early in revenue. And so, we saw that very early on with Mosaic and Databricks, of course, the Inflection and Microsoft partnership. And so I think we'll start to see more and more of that over time. And hopefully, 1 plus 1 will equal greater than 2.
Are we going to get more of these weird kind of acqui-hires, though? Because the Inflection Microsoft deal was a relatively extraordinary one.
I wish I could tell you. It was extraordinary. We were also scratching our heads a little bit on it. But look, I think it all comes down to acquisition of talent. And I think for a lot of companies that have raised money and they're struggling to find that product market fit, I think it could be an attractive path for them moving forward.
We've only got like 40 seconds left, but where else if not AI? Where can still be a good investment?
Look, I still think this transition from doing things manually to digitizing them is really important for some of these massive industries. For example, there's a company that I invested in called CISO. They're trying to be the Workday for the agriculture industry. So right now, in the agriculture industry, you have to do a lot of paperwork on digital onboarding completely manually. So doing things like that and helping those huge industries really transform to tech first, I think is a huge opportunity.